Where are you? Are you in your office?
I'm on my fucking couch.
Are you always on your couch more so than often these days?
This is my office. I don't have an office at the gym. So
What happened to it? You gave it to your manager?
Oh, that little office I had in there? Yeah, basically. And I've been waiting on mine to get built again.
It's in progress right now, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Working on, because I told you shit got expensive. So working on, and I think I'm got it all figured out. So I think I'll have a couple options. So that's good.
Why are you moving your screen so much? Or are you on your phone?
No, I'm just getting my computer set up.
What do you got it on, like a
TV? I
TV?
do not like this computer because the camera's at the fucking bottom, like right above the keyboard.
Well, yeah, but you got to set it up higher.
So I got to set it up higher. So that's kind of, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. What do you got? You got it on like a TV dinner tray? Rachel's going to start bringing you food or something?
I got a bunch of pillows right there.
This is a circus, Hendo. Your computer's going like this, like you're in a boat.
Well, once I get it set, I won't be moving it. I literally was just trying to set it. I didn't have a picture to look at until you got here.
Are you set?
I think we're good. I mean, you can see my gray a little too much in my beard.
Well, you're in your 50s now. That's normal. I got a little gray, and I just turned 49.
Yeah.
My birthday was last Saturday, and I waited on my porch all day and never saw one police or post office truck stop by with a gift from you.
I didn't know it was your birthday last Saturday.
Yeah. It was last Friday, whatever. I was in Canada when it was. It was on the 21st. How was Rogan?
It was good. Yeah, I've known him a while. It was good to catch up with him. I haven't really seen him in a long time.
Do you not go to many UFC fights anymore? You mainly do appearances for Bellator? You're getting ready to head to New York for what? Is that for UFC?
Yeah. Well, I finally got back with Monster, so.
What happened with Monster? Is it the same dude running that ship over there that handles the fighters?
Yeah. Same guy that handles all the MMA, basically. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what the problem was, but I think he was going through some stuff, and COVID happened, and my contract ended, and it just didn't get renewed till now.
So, Rogan Studios are pretty badass.
It's pretty cool. He's got a bunch of cool art. His setup there is really awesome. His studio itself is pretty small, but then the front room where all of his artwork and stuff is pretty cool. And then he's got a big ass gym in there that him and his security guys work out in. That's about it.
Really?
Some weights and everything. And then he's got an archery, like a 40-yard archery range in there. One end has the targets, the other end has the virtual screen what you can use.
Yeah.
He's got that in there too.
He's into that archery big time. He killed a heck of a bull a couple weeks ago. I saw big elk.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it.
Did he tell you what it scored?
It wasn't his biggest one.
It wasn't.
He's got like a 420 or something, or 4 something, and like hanging in his archery range.
So it wasn't his biggest bull?
No, it's in the 400s, but his other one was bigger that he's had before. It's on his wall in there. Pretty big bull.
Did he kill it with Cam in Utah, or where did he kill it? Do you know? New Mexico, Utah.
One he was just at was Tejon Ranch.
Yeah.
I don't remember where he said was the biggest one.
So, what did you think of Tyson Fury and Nagano? Did you watch?
I watched. I didn't realize it was so early. So I watched the second half of the fight, and I thought, and that again, I only watched the second half, but I thought Nagano won every round except for the second to last round, which would have been, what was it, 10 rounds total? So it would have been round 9.
And he won them all. He won 4 out of the last 5 rounds, you're saying?
Yeah.
They just couldn't give it to him. They could not let Tyson Fury lose that fight, right? Or he's tarnished. He's fighting for a title shot in December or something, isn't he? He better get his ass in the gym.
Yeah, but my question was, okay, say he didn't take Nagano seriously and didn't train for him. That didn't matter. It shouldn't have mattered the first round, maybe the first 2 rounds, where he still was pretty fresh. And I didn't see the first 2 rounds, but I know Nagano knocked him down in the second. I don't know how the first round went. So that I don't know. But either way, I heard Nagano should have got a 10-8 on that second round.
And one of the judges had Fury like up by 3 rounds or 3 points, and there's just no way.
Yeah.
That's not very good judging. One judge had it Nagano, one judge had it Fury by 1, and then a judge had him up 3. That's no way.
Yeah, it does suck, and I know the feeling.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. We're here to talk about this for everybody watching on YouTube. Let me get it over close to my camera. This is Hendo's new book released last week. This is why he went on the Joe Rogan Experience as well. Hendo, the American Athlete, by Dan Henderson with David Cano. Is it Canned or Cano? Cano. I pronounced it wrong both times. It's pretty cool. These little the quotes you have on the back by Joe Rogan, Toby Keith, and Gary LaVox. Did you know Gary LaVox before Oklahoma when we went hunting last year?
I did not.
Oh, so this took place after that hunt. You asked him to write asked him to write a quote about the book?
Yeah, the book, I think I had finished the book already. And it was being edited, and then we go back and kind of change a few things and if needed during that period. I think when I met Gary, it was in the editing stage, and then obviously they want some quotes, and Randy wrote a pretty good thing in there as well. Couture.
But Gary LaVox, Toby Keith's in the Songwriter Hall of Fame. Gary LaVox will be in the Songwriter Hall of Fame one day. He's got like 17 #1 hits. That's pretty cool to have big-time songwriters writing. I mean, if you read what Gary wrote, you can tell he can put his words together. I don't know how edited it was, but he puts his words together very well. It's pretty neat, this career that you put together, that this book goes through and talks about. The photos in this book are awesome too, because even as good of friends as I've become with you, I love seeing the experiences that you had that I never knew about. Even if you did shake Hillary Rodham Clinton's hand, I don't know why you put that one in there, but we'll talk about that on another hunting trip. But it's really neat seeing the little trophies and you in like almost pure like diapers pretty much, and how much of a wrestler you really were all the way through your Olympic career. And then how Joe Rogan talks about how you were never really versed in maybe street fighting a little bit, but you never really trained boxing or MMA or hands. And then all of a sudden, tell that story one more time, Hendo. I think you've told it on the podcast before, or you told it to me at duck camp here or there somewhere, Oklahoma, Canada, wherever we've been. You were training with Couture in Oregon, and then he was going to go fight in Brazil, and he had to back out, so you took his place? Or tell that story again about your first fight.
Yeah, I mean, we had been training partners in wrestling for at least 5 years before this, and we'd watched the UFC on TV and, had talked about maybe getting into it, or what do you think? And, and like, yeah, I'm not sure about those big 300, 400 pounders that are in there. But I think we'd be good at it. So then I didn't realize Randy had put an application into the UFC and got denied. So I didn't know he was actually going to try to do MMA. And then I guess he got a call about going to do this tournament down in Brazil and they had a lightweight tournament and a heavyweight tournament. The lightweight tournament was like 175 was a weight limit, and then heavyweight was heavyweight. And I was wrestling 180 and a half at the time, so an extra 5 pounds wasn't too bad. So Randy calls me up and says, hey, I'm doing this tournament down in Brazil at heavyweight, and they got a lightweight tournament. Do you want to go do it? I said, sure, why not? And then like a couple of days later, after I committed, Randy got a call from the UFC saying somebody got hurt and told him that he could fight on the next show. It was a tournament style also. And it was like within a week of the Brazil fight. So he didn't go to Brazil. I went, and Tom Erickson actually took Randy's place at heavyweight in his tournament. I don't know if you remember Big Cat Tom Erickson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a big old boy, a good freestyle wrestler, and he went out there and he won the tournament at heavyweight. I won the tournament at lightweight or whatever they called it. But I think he fought Randleman in the finals.
Yeah, Kevin Randleman, yeah.
He knocked him out with an elbow on the ground.
And how did you win? Did you fight a Brazilian in the championship fight?
I fought a Brazilian black belt, Carlson Gracie black belt first fight. And they were right in the middle of trying to clean up the sport a little bit. So this organization, which was their first show, said, hey, to the referee, if there's 5 unanswered punches to the face, stop the fight. And I think I had him. He was kind of up against the fence on the ground, and I was throwing punches, but most of them were kind of missing. And I think I threw like 6 or 8 punches, and the referee stops the fight, and the whole crowd went nuts. It was almost a riot. People were throwing shit in there, trying to get up on the cage to come in. But luckily, the cage was kind of 10 feet tall, so it was pretty tall. And there was a guy on the outside holding the gate and ducking his head, and everybody, you could see him on the video, everybody punching at the guy trying to get in the cage. And I was like shitting myself right there.
Because they weren't going to stop with him or the referee. They were going to get you
like,
too.
I don't know what was going to happen, and then, I had cut weight pretty good. So I'm in the middle of the cage, and then I start cramp. My leg starts cramping. So I just sat down in the middle of the cage, and I didn't understand any Portuguese. And the guy that I was fighting finally got on the microphone and told everyone to settle down, and you got to respect the referee. He made a decision to stop it. You got to respect it. And because they had offered to restart it, and he said no.
What round was it in?
There was only, I think it was 2 15-minute rounds, and it was in the first round.
So what happens if they don't stop the fight, in your opinion, the way the fight was going? I think you kind of just gave it away. If he says no, he probably knows you're whipping his ass and he doesn't want to try it again. Or why did he say no? Because you deserve to win?
A little bit of both. But, yeah, I mean, I think within 30 seconds he would have been done.
You would have. Okay, so Joe Rogan on the back of this book says Dan Henderson is a savage. He came from a pure wrestling background with very little striking training. So you're wrestling and you're an Olympic Greco wrestler, correct? You're a Greco wrestler in the Olympics. So where did these hands come from? Were you a street fighter growing up, or did you and Randy just like put a quick game plan together when you decided to go to Brazil?
I didn't know anything. I was just a wrestler. This was 2 weeks from when Randy called me. I'm in Brazil fighting, So,
did you have to pay your own way down there?
No, they flew me down and coaches.
Like, what year is this?
1997.
1997. So you get in this 10-foot cage, almost WWF, WWE, I guess, esque of like the big cage matches. But the hands come from somewhere. Did you try to take him down first and he defended your takedown?
No, I was on, I mean, the fight went everywhere. I was on bottom, I was on top. I don't know. I was not very good at grappling as far as some of the submissions go, and he had swept me once and ended up on top. So I mean, I was very new to it. I don't think I'd ever really grappled before. Submission stuff, I've never really, I did brush up on, as a wrestler, how to not get armbarred, how to not get triangled, type of thing. I'd been in like 3 street fights in my life, so that wasn't really a factor of where anything came from. But I think, and I remember when I got in the cage, I'm like, oh shit, what'd I get myself into? And then
Why?
I don't know, a little nervous, never done it before. And as soon as the bell rang, all that went away, and it was just instinct in there. My savagery came out, I guess.
Straight fighting savage. Okay, let's talk about like fights that I've always been interested in. I know that a lot of them are in this book. What year was Bisbing 2? And that was UFC 204. Now they're in like 289. So was that in like 2015, 2017?
16. October of 16.
Okay, so fast forward from your very first fight in Brazil to your very last fight in Britain against home cooking Michael Bisbing, who you had already had one of the best knockouts in any fighting, all of boxing, all of MMA, all of fighting there is, even bare knuckle boxing or these new slap fights. Like the first knockout of Michael Bisbing is like, it's one of the fights people talk about when they bring up Hendo, besides when we get into Shogun and all that, in the Hall of Fame fight, which is considered probably the best fight of all time, if not one of the best, if not the best. But there's 2 fights I want to talk about before we get into the book more. And I know that we've touched on it before, but Bisbing 2, you'd already smoked him when he was a younger fighter. Now you come back, he's the title holder. He's got a different build. He's stronger at this time. But you come into this fight in the first and second round and lay him out, knock him down. And at the end of the fight, it looks like his face has been in a meat grinder, and you look like you just went on a walk in the park pretty much. Why? Was it evident? I know that they always tell fighters, do not leave it in the judge's hands, of course. What is the biggest regret of that fight, Hendo? That did you lax off a little bit against him? Do you feel like you could have finished him in the third round, maybe, if not the second?
Maybe I had a split second delay when I should have just jumped on him and did the same exact thing I did to him in the first fight. But I mean, my fist missed by like a half an inch from connecting on the ground to follow up to make sure that he was done. But yeah, I mean, either way, I thought I did enough. I don't know if I would do much different in that fight. Maybe I could have made it boring and took him down and humped the fuck out of him and won the fight easily that way. As it, I think I took him down in the 5th round and I knocked him down 2 other rounds and he really didn't do any damage at all to me. He didn't land any strong punches at all that made me say down. He landed a few kicks that didn't really do anything either. And, I don't know. I have no idea why he got the decision, but got to live with it now.
On the inside cover leaf of your new book, Hendo, the American Athlete, it has a quote in there to, let me find it again. I want to make sure I read it right. And his up and down relationship with Dana White, who was one of the original owners. Well, when they bought the group, the UFC with the Fertittas, and then Dana has stayed on as like the president, if you will, in the face of the UFC still. It says an up and down relationship, which speaks for itself of what that means. Was there a part of that decision with Bisbing that Dana came to you at all? What was your relationship with Dana White at the time of that title fight? And did he say anything like, what the F, you got screwed, home cooking? I mean, did he say, hey, you should have finished him, or Bisbing deserved to win the fight? Was there any reaction from Dana White in regards to this quote in your book of an up and down relationship? I'm curious because I just kind of want to know where his head space was at.
Well, right after the fight, I'm in the cage. I think he's not even in the cage yet. He's talking to me through the cage, or maybe he's in and we're talking in there. I don't remember, but he basically said, oh yeah, I had it, you got a 10-8, and then, and then he won 3 rounds. I'm like, well, then it should be a draw at the worst, it should have been a draw at the worst. And he's like, no, you really needed to win the last round. I'm like, well, if it was a 10-8, then, if he wins 2 out of 3 rounds, then it would have been a draw. But either way, I thought I beat him in the last round as well. Obviously, I beat him the first 2 rounds. 4th round, I felt I could have won either way. But again, they don't really. Nowadays, I feel like they judge fights differently and put a lot more emphasis on damage than how many times you touch the other person.
When I was at the last John Jones fight, when he came back and won at heavyweight against is the guy French that he beat? Is that guy French? I don't remember now. The big guy. Gone. Yeah. Is he French?
I'm not sure where he's from.
It doesn't matter. I was there and Bisbing was there, and there was like this VIP party before the fight, upstairs. You've been to so many of them. And I was up there, and he come up there with his girl or his wife, whatever. What happens in that instance if you're me there? Do you respect him now? Do you like him now? Would you say, what's up, Michael? Do you guys give each other fists or even a bro hug? Or is it just kind of passerby?
I think I've only been in one maybe place at the same time of them since the second fight, and that was at Sam Alvey's fight. But I was waiting for Sam by the elevators, and Bisbing walks down, and my back was to him, granted, but I was talking to my boxing coach, but my side was more to him, and he walked past us, didn't say a word to me, stopped and said hello to Sam, who was about 10 feet away from me, and then kept walking. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have any problems with him. I've always respected him as a fighter and even as a person, but he's not the type of guy that I'd want to hang out with. But I respect the fact that he was always the same way on and off camera. He wasn't like a John Jones quoting scriptures and then, getting hookers and blow,
That is part of this book that they do talk about too, about how your wittiness and cleverness and sense of humor come out in it. Have you always been that way? Because I always tell people how quick you are on your feet, no pun intended with the fighting career, but how quick-witted you are, and how your voice is always kind of like it's like your 5 mile an hour and your 200 mile an hour, right? The way you talk and the way that you approach a conversation. It was even that way in your fight career with the way that you approached a fight and selling a fight. You were never really a shit talker. You just did it in the ring and in the octagon. But that cleverness, has that always been part, like, does that date back to childhood? Were you a class clown in high school? Were you getting in trouble in high school? Did you raise a lot of hell as a pre 18-year-old teen? Or were you a disciplined wrestler that had the fear of God put into him?
I was pretty good. I mean, I had my share of fun, but I didn't draw attention to myself to get in trouble very often. So no, I wasn't raising hell, but I was having a lot of fun and still getting done what I needed to get done. And so I don't know, the wittiness is just, it's pretty sarcastic type of dry humor. And maybe I get it a little bit from my dad, but, I know I'm a bit monotone as far as when I do say things.
When you did anything happen in the Rogan interview that gets you? Because his in-depth knowledge of the fight game is really, really strong. That's what I've always respected about Rogan, that he's not just somebody that was on a Fear Factor show and then landed this deal with the UFC. Like, this guy's committed, right? He's been behind the scenes at UFC since day one, and now he's, one of the faces, if not the biggest name in UFC right now with the success of the podcast. He was never a fighter, but he trains jiu-jitsu, and he shows his training and in his social media and stuff. Does he get you? Can he get into your dish a little bit? Can guys that know the game and know what you've done? And here's where I'm going with this. Like, what happens if somebody like Rogan brings up, in my opinion, one of your worst performances ever? And I love you like a brother, so don't fucking fly up here next week and kill me for saying this, but I hated the fight against Cormier. Okay. So like, I hated how that fight went down in your career. Like, I don't even know if you would think that it's one of your worst performances. Is it? I don't know. But can a guy like Rogan get in your dish, or somebody that really knows the fight game? Can they ever get you fired up when they talk about your past fights, or ones that they didn't see, like the real Hendo? Because you really didn't look like Hendo in that fight. First off, answer the Rogan question, and then tell me what was going on in that Cormier fight. And I didn't mean any disrespect by that. I just expected you to whip his ass.
No, I obviously, I thought I'd win too. Otherwise I wouldn't have taken the fight. But, I don't ever feel bad about any of the fights that anybody brings up. But, if it's Joe or anyone else, I just, there was a couple fights that I didn't have the best performance, but I felt good going into that fight with DC. I just, I thought I was going to be able to stop the takedown a little bit more. He fought exactly how I thought he would. I thought he was just going to be, kind of looking to take me down the whole time and not stand up and trade punches at all. And I thought I'd be able to defend the takedowns better. And then once I got taken down, I really thought I'd be able to get up a lot better than I did, which I'm pretty good at getting up, but he puts his weight on you really heavy, and he wore me out with his one being, 30 pounds heavier than me, literally. And then he puts his weight on you really well because, his wrestling background, and he just knows how to really sink it down on you. And yeah, he wore me out when I was trying to get out. And that made a big difference in the fight. And those are the guys that I always had the toughest time with, was the ones that are pretty good wrestling, that all they wanted to do is take me down. It's really hard to land punches on somebody when they're just trying to take you down. You can always land a lucky one and catch them on the way in, but a knee or uppercut or hook coming in, but those are hard to do.
So did you get off of your fight game a little bit after you felt how heavy he was? Like, it kind of took you out of your, did you keep trying to throw hands in that fight, or did you want to get back to your wrestling base?
I honestly, I should have changed gears and wrestled with him a little bit more, tied him up, got him in the clinch a little better. He's explosive, and when he gets my legs, he'd just pop me up in the air and take me down. So yeah, I should have really stopped trying to punch him so much and wrestled with him a little bit more.
Hell of a career he built, though. Yeah, like you do. I know you respect all fighters, but that Cormier is a respectful dude. Is he a respectful guy? Is he a nice guy? I mean, you had history with him in U.S. wrestling. You've known him for a long time. Is he a hell of a man? And I think that he had great composure in the way that he handled himself in the octagon, or was it kind of for show as well? Is he different behind the scenes?
No, he's great. And yeah, he definitely represented wrestling and MMA really well, and was a great champ. Yeah, he wasn't doing the hookers and blow thing.
So when you sit down and you have this idea, and maybe a co-author like David Cano comes to you, why did you want to put your story out there? I know that you have, one of the stories I always tell that was amazing to me was Hard Rock Vegas. We were having sushi, and the month was January, probably 2017 or 18. And we were at the center bar waiting for our reservation, and between the center bar and the entrance of Nobu, Hendo signed 50 autographs and took 50 pictures, selfies, people getting them, like calling him champ, Hendo, champ, Hendo, champ. Can I get a picture? They're having him sign like bar napkins just to have your autograph. Like didn't even have pictures of you because they didn't expect to see you there. But you have a huge fanship because of your career. First two-time champion in the history of the MMA with Strikeforce and Pride. But when you sit down and you get this opportunity to put your memoirs out there, your history, your story, I don't know of a lot of MMA fighters that have done it. Chuck Liddell, has Randy done this?
Yep. Randy's written a book, same with Chuck.
So Chuck and Randy have one out?
Yep. They've been out for a long time.
So did they press on you, put your story out there? Does Rachel press on you? Do your kids press on you? Or did you always have it in the back of your mind that you were going to tell these stories and give your fan base kind of the truth of the career of Hendo?
It's something that I thought about for a while. And then, I was doing an interview for David Kano, actually set up an interview with me. He was doing a documentary on football, on CTE, on football players, and came out, interviewed me, and him, and I think Brett Favre's the executive producer on it, and he kind of was also a fan of mine before that, but asked me a lot of questions, not just about that, but a lot of other questions, and then he comes back and does another documentary on MMA and boxing, two different ones, and obviously put me in both of those. And when he was out here for the last one, he was asking about if he could write my book with me. And, I told him I thought about doing it, but, I'd have to see how well he was able to put things down on paper and kind of got to know him a little bit better, and then we decided to do it. And once we got going on it, it went pretty quick. We got it done in like 3 months, I think.
How does that? And I've written a book with a buddy of mutual friend of ours, Chad Mendez, but it's a lot of recipes, and we did have some writing in it, stories, tips, stories about hunts, butchering, processing, stuff like that. But do you sit down and just start talking? I mean, is he interviewing you like he's documenting a fight career, and or do you just start spilling your guts to him?
He had a number of questions, obviously, kind of laid out like an outline of my life. After talking to me for a while, we kind of outlined what the book will be like, what chapter was what, and then each chapter he had a lot of questions, and then those questions probably made more questions, and every question kind of sparked a new story or different memory that I kind of had forgotten about. Even after I read the book or read when he put it down on paper and I read it and kind of said, no, we need to change this, or I would have said, I've changed a lot on how I say things and made sure they were in there and made sure the stories were right. But after that, I would always remember more things that I forgot about. That was the toughest part. Like, we could have went on forever because I kept remembering things that would have been a funny story, or would have made it a little funnier if I put it in there. So there's a few stories that are missing a few things, but for the most part, it got a lot of stuff in there that I'm pretty happy with. So, I don't know. I would like to hear everybody's opinion on how they like it and what they think. And obviously, it's something we put a lot of work into, and it's about my life. So I'd like to hear how the story part of it went.
I like the stories. I haven't read it all. I booked this interview probably a week too soon, but I am going to finish it, this weekend or this week. And I think it's great. Like I said, I think that it flows well. The stories are awesome. And I love when I did a testimonial the other day and I talked about how I started reading the book. I just said, I just love learning about how a career like this takes place, because a lot of times when you see these UFC careers, man, it's just like these fighters are vaulted into the limelight so fast. I'm not saying they didn't work to get there, but it's like, wow, there's just like this country kid that come out of Illinois, Matt Hughes, and then all of a sudden he's a 9-time welterweight champion. And you just don't know a lot about him, right? Like Mike Tyson, when he was fighting, you knew about Mike and Customato and Don King and his management and his Tigers and his Bentleys. And like, it was like every day. And now the media is covering fighters to where you know them. But like at the beginning of your career, MMA fighters were not being documented like boxers were, from the early 80s when I was really becoming a big time boxing fan. They just weren't being documented a lot. So to learn about, how this career kind of formatted and formed and started to take place is very interesting to me. Tell the audience who Tom is that you referred to in the book. I know that you talk about exactly who he is, but who is Tom? You talk about your brother a lot, and you even wrestled him in high school. Was that true? You wrestled him one time in high school?
Yeah, it was either freestyle or Greco tournament, like at the state meet. And I think he had beat me like by a point, but it was a high scoring match. We just scored a lot of points on each. It was like 15-16 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 16-15, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was he matured and muscular, and his body was a lot bigger and stronger than mine in high school. Like as a freshman, he was that way. And I didn't maybe start getting that till I was a senior. And I think we wrestled maybe when I was a junior. He was a senior. He was 1 year ahead of me in school. So, but yeah, it was, I don't know. We weren't overly close as far as we didn't hang out with each other too much in high school. We had a lot of mutual friends because of the wrestling team, but he kind of had his own group of friends, and I kind of had mine, and, it was what it was. But yeah, he was definitely better than I was at wrestling at that age.
Was he jealous of your career at all as you started to become Hendo, or was he very supportive?
I don't know if he was jealous at all. I think part of him wishes that he had not stopped wrestling and kept doing wrestling and maybe trying to, because he stopped wrestling. He went and wrestled out of high school, went to a college in Kansas and wrestled there. It was a junior college, and I think he placed in JUCOs, and then after that came back and went to San Diego State. Our club wrestling coach started the wrestling program there again, and it only lasted 1 year, and they shut it down again. So he kind of just quit wrestling at that point, and had brought his wife back from Kansas with him, and and then so he was just working on getting his teaching credential, and he was a teacher for years. So
that's pretty badass though, because it looks like you guys pushed each other big time. Talk to me about what year was the World Mega Battle Open, King of Kings. You look young as hell in this.
Well, the King of Kings tournament. So that was the end of 1999 and the beginning of 2000 was the tournament.
So you're in your late 20s, maybe 30?
Yeah, I was 29 and 30, or right around 29-ish, 30.
Pretty young to win that much money. That's major money, a $200,000 big check like Happy Gilmore. I want the big check. Were you always pretty good at investing, Dan, and being responsible, winning money like this at an early age? And I mean, I watch your lifestyle now, and I can tell that you've done well. I'm not going to like spill any beans about what you have and what you've built, but you've done well. Have you always been a pretty disciplined guy with your money and made sure that you saved it for a rainy day, even when you were winning this kind of money before you were 30?
I tried to, and yeah, I definitely was doing that, and getting divorced definitely changed that a bit. You know, they're not cheap, so. But yeah, I mean, I'm always been pretty good with my money.
What are your incomes now? What are your sources of income? I know you have your gym.
Well, I have the gym, and then just doing appearances and various things like that, a little bit of sponsorship here and there. But, you know, working on putting in that brewery distillery restaurant that I've been working on seems like forever, but it got started before COVID and then got put on hold. And now we're back on track to be finished. Construction will be done into December, so I'm not exactly sure when the opening date will be, but
we've made a deal though. We've made a deal though that you're going to wait until I can be free for it, correct? I know the world doesn't revolve around me, Hendo, but I really want to be there.
No, absolutely. I mean, we'll make sure that you can get away for it, and yeah, I just don't know exactly when it'll be. We might open and then have a grand opening shortly after we open, type of thing. But we'll see. It would be awesome to be able to do it before the end of the year, but I don't know if that'll happen.
Are you excited? I mean, I know you are, but is it just coming along besides the time structure and frame of it and how long it's taking? Is it starting to gel to where you're really starting to see how awesome it's going to be?
Yeah, and knowing what the renderings look like from the designer and what the finished product's going to be, and it's slowly getting there, but none of the finishes are on anything, so it's all just you know, finishing up the framing and sheeting and put the drywall on right now, and putting all the wires in the pipes that in the conduit they have put out there, and finishing a little bit of the plumbing and changing some of the, you know, moving the gas, you know, just various little things like that is what's happening right now. Well, but a lot of them. So they're moving pretty quickly on things.
What kind of menu are we going to see at this joint?
It'll have some bar food in there, and it'll have some good steaks. You know, it'll be basically a sports bar, country bar steakhouse. So the three best things that I always want to go to. So,
live music.
We will have live music, and yeah, I want to really try to put together a cool following for doing an acoustic night, like once a month or something, dinner and drinks included type of thing.
There's a few things I know you love. You love your fight nights at your gym. You love the fight game. You love good food. You love a good cocktail, and you love country music, concerts, festivals, live music. Describe your lifestyle post-fighting. And I know it, obviously I know some of it of what you do. You like to party and hang with friends. You love socializing. You love a good time. You're like me. Are you catching up for lost time? Because as a wrestler and a fighter, you can't really live that lifestyle. Like, and if you're, because you got to be ready at almost all times when you're fighting. Of like, you might not even be in a camp and get an opportunity to go to a short camp to sit in for somebody. But are you making up for lost time? Because you do love to have a good time and you deserve it. And you go hard. I mean, like you travel and you.
I don't think I'm making up for lost time at all, because honestly, it was almost better then, because I had I would party. Right after a fight, I would party for about 2 months, unless I booked another fight right away. But I would never drink about 2 months out. I would, even later, my training camps were sometimes 3 to 4 months, 3.5 months. And I would not drink the last 2 months, not even anything. So, I mean, I would kind of ease into my training camps. And then my last 2 months were pretty disciplined and, you know, pretty tough to get through. And the intensity definitely picked up those last 2 months. So with that, it really gave me a break from doing all this other stuff. And, you know, I do like to socialize, but I do like my alone time and be able to chill at my house sometimes too, which it seems like now I'm always on the go doing something somewhere with somebody. So
that's what I mean.
Nice when I get time at home. You know, my wife's a little bit younger than me, and she gets worn out a lot quicker than I do doing these things.
Well, she works, Dan.
Well, now she works, but 3 days a week, you know, she does work. But yeah, she does. She's supposed to be keeping me young, but you know, she's having trouble keeping up with me.
I know, I can tell. When you hear stuff like this, where it says one of the greatest fighters to ever get in a cage, well, that's written in your own book from you and David Kano. I better get it right. I want to meet this guy. He did a good job. You're a humble guy. Like, you don't ever brag about yourself. You didn't even talk shit leading up to fights. You just kind of did your talking in the ring, in the octagon. Do you, in your heart of hearts, believe that sentence? One of the greatest fighters to ever get in a cage and a ring. Because it says ring.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fights in the ring too, I guess.
Pride was ring, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it would definitely be in the conversation of one of the best, but I did it for such a long time and fought most of the top guys during my era. You know, I think I definitely was one of the toughest ones to beat, for sure.
For sure. How long did it, going back to that second Bisbing fight, did you know that was it going into that fight? Had you announced it? I'm pretty sure you did, but how close have you came to saying that's not it? What would it take? Could bare knuckle boxing get Dan Henderson off the couch for $1 million right now?
No, not for $1 million. Maybe
nope.
2. I don't even know if 2 would do it. The older I get, the higher the price goes. Yeah, I mean, I think bare knuckle would have been fun for me to do, for sure. It would have been right up my style with my dirty boxing. I feel like I'd own guys in there.
God, would you? Just that maybe a fake left and then come over the top with the H-bomb, like, you might kill somebody though. Like, I mean, that punch rocked people's world. You almost killed Bisbing. Like, he was not himself for a long time after that. Like I don't know if it would be I don't think anybody would want to fight you in bare knuckle boxing. I think they'd have to get $2 million too.
Yeah, I just think it doesn't make sense for these guys that are, you know, that are in there fighting that want to, you know, kind of build their career to fight somebody like me that, you know, I'm 53 years old and there's a good chance that I'm going to beat your ass. and if I don't, and you win, you know, all you did was beat a 53-year-old man. So granted, I'm a little better at fighting than most 53-year-old men, but
after you made your name in the fight game, Hendo, which was a long time ago, you've been on top of it for a long time. How many times have you been, I don't know if challenged is the right word, but like tested by somebody like me, just some normal Tom, Frank, or Harry in a corner bar that thinks I'm going to go F with the frickin' badass, you know? Because I saw it happen to one fighter personally. I personally watched it in a sports bar club kind of setting. I watched it happen. Did it happen to you ever?
I think it happened one time, but he wasn't trying to fight me. he was trying to fight someone else, so I would break up the fight and maybe choke him out or something. So he started a fight. He got kicked out of this little bar, and I was in this small town in Adak, Alaska, on a friggin' island in the middle of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, hunting. Chuck Wicks was there with me, and he was in there singing. But yeah, this guy gets kicked out, then ends up coming back a half hour later, and then picks a fight with a girl in there. And then that kind of went over the line. So, you know, we kind of pulled him away, and I choked him out real quick. And you know, I was kind of halfway waiting for him to start shit when he woke up, but he looks at me and said, "That's all I wanted. Thank you."
Was he a local?
And we're looking at, well, all you had to do was ask earlier. I would have gladly done that.
Was he a local?
Yeah. I mean, there's only like 100 people that live on that island full time.
So he knew exactly what he wanted.
He was one of the 2 drug dealers on the island.
That's freaking hilarious. Yeah, I always wondered, like, if there's people like that they either want to tell people they got choked out by Hendo, or they want to really test their fighting ability against you.
I was kind of pissed off because that was right after where I had to pull out of the fight against John Jones, and I had a knee brace on, and I was in Alaska, and it kind of tweaked my knee just getting on his back and choking him out. So I was pretty irritated that he caused that to happen. But
you respect John Jones as a fighter, but not as a man. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much. I think that's close. You know, it's hard to know exactly, you know, since he tested positive, you know, what was real, what wasn't, you know, what was enhanced, what wasn't over the years. So it's tough to respect him as a fighter 100% because of that.
So in that same vein, on that sentence I read you in your book about you being one of the greatest to do it in an octagon or ring, do you consider him, or does that take it away right there because of the asterisk?
Yeah, I think it puts an asterisk on it. And unfortunately, same with Anderson Silva. You know.
What about one of the guys that you also fought? Gosh dang it.
Vitor?
Yes, Belfort. Like, he was bad on it, right?
Yeah, he was probably one of the worst.
He doesn't even look like the same guy when he's not. Like, most of them don't, but, I mean, he was a statue at some of his fights when he was heavy on it. Well, how did your fights go with him? Remind us.
I won the first one, and he tested positive. That was in Pride. And then when I fought him in the UFC, that was the time frame where he would only take fights in Brazil. And I believe, from what I was told, his personal doctor was the head of the athletic commission in Brazil. So that helped a lot.
You think?
So, yeah, he was definitely didn't look like he had been off of the stuff when I fought him both times. But regardless, I got kind of halfway caught with, you know, some punches or you know, one of the fights, a head kick, and kind of knocked me a little bit silly, but I still felt like I was there and capable and still moving to protect myself. And the fight got stopped both times. So unfortunately, yeah, that's the one fight that kind of irritates me the most to talk about. But
wait a minute, you fought him 3 times?
Yeah.
Twice in the UFC?
Twice in the UFC in Brazil.
They were both in Brazil.
Yeah, I should have made him come to America.
Yeah, for sure. At least one of them.
Yeah.
How bad did you beat him? Was it decision in Pride?
Yeah, but it wasn't overly close. I just, you know, my game plan going in there was to kind of be a little bit more conservative because he's dangerous at the beginning of any fight. You know, and go in there, take him down, kind of grind on him a little bit, and you know, and then the last round try to finish him. And you know, my corner didn't really focus on telling me to go out there and finish him now. You know, just kept telling me to take him down. but I wanted to stand up and trade punches with him the last round to try to finish him. Because at that point, I think, I would have owned him. But I never changed it up. So it was a decision.
And then he caught you twice in the UFC in Brazil. Those are the ones you'd want, some of the fights in your career that you'd want back?
Yeah, I mean, that one would have been nice to have, one of those fights, at least in America.
Who do you like watching now in the UFC? Is there anybody? There's so many fights now. They've turned it into a true league to where there's like a fight, at least one every week, whether it's pay-per-view or not. Can you even keep up? Can you even keep up?
No, I mean, I can't keep up. I don't know half, or not even half. I don't know most of the new fighters out there. Maybe I've seen them, but it's hard to keep up with all their names. And I know that when he was fighting, when I was still fighting, but he was just coming on fairly strong at the time, was Justin Gaethje. I like watching him. And Poirier, you always got to like watching him as well.
Do you like watching Covington? Speaking of Covington, he's coming back. Do you like Colby?
Yeah, I like Colby a lot too.
He's fighting Edwards, right?
He likes to talk shit, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it. He doesn't hit old men in bars and throw shit through windows. He just uses.
Didn't he get jumped by somebody that broke his watch and some shit went down in Miami or somewhere?
Yeah, it was what's his face?
The BMF guy, right? Masvidal.
Masvidal. Yeah, I kind of lost a lot of respect for Masvidal over that. Liked him before, but when you have 25 minutes to go out there and beat a guy up that you obviously dislike, you have a grudge with, whatever it is, you have your chance out there one-on-one to get it done. And if you can't get it done there, why, it's just kind of chicken shit to go grab a buddy, put on a mask, and jump the guy at a restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, should have been more jail time. He didn't get any jail time.
I hardly heard anything about it, but yeah, I think he should have went to jail and should have been reprimanded by the UFC as well.
Yeah. So who wins Covington Edwards? Edwards surprised. I mean, he's a good fighter. He beat Usman twice. He's won some big fights. Can he beat Covington? Because Colby's pretty freaking. He's got a gas tank on him, and he's talented as hell in a lot of areas.
I mean, Usman's got a gas tank too.
Yeah, true.
I mean, Usman's one of the. I think. Yeah, he's a big stud. Yeah, he's just one of those guys that's hard to beat. Very disciplined. Stays with his game plan pretty well. Goes out there and just pretty methodical and goes after it. But Colby is a little bit goofy. He does use his wrestling a lot more for takedowns. He's got pretty good ground and pound. So I mean that's probably going to determine who wins the fight. Is if Colby can utilize his wrestling and kind of wear Edwards out that way.
Yeah, Colby's kind of being quiet, and he's probably very, very ultra focused on this. This is his opportunity that, he wants that title. He's never been the champion. I don't think he has. I don't think he's ever won the belt.
I mean, if anything, it might have been an interim, but I don't know if he's even got that.
I don't think he's ever won the belt. What, when it comes to this book now, you get weekly updates on sales. You're privy to all that information, becomes a New York Times bestseller, all of the things that have gone into this story of your career. Is there anything that you deliberately left out because you were embarrassed of, that you didn't want us to know, that nobody knows? You're probably not going to tell us on this. It's just a yes or no answer. Are there things that you did in your career that you didn't want anybody to know?
I mean, not career wise, but some of the more personal life things where, getting divorced and stuff. I think it talks a little bit about it. But I kind of left the kids and family part out of that a little bit and just kind of focused on my life and my competition life, like how I grew up and how I got to be, an Olympian, and how I became, a pretty good mixed martial artist after that. Um, yeah. So, I mean, just more of the personal, marriage stuff I didn't have in there.
So there's just, I
Maybe
mean,
it'll be in the next one. Who knows?
yeah, that's where I was going next. Is there will be a part two?
I don't know about that. We'll see. I mean, I know that since this book is, even before it came out, some producers are looking at maybe doing like a biopic on me, or they were, but now they're talking about doing a limited series, because it's hard to put a life into 2 hours.
Who
So
would play you? Who'd play you in a movie?
they have
If
a
you
guy in mind that they really want to play me, but I mean, he doesn't exactly look like me, but he does train a little bit, MMA or boxing, a little bit of everything, and wants to also fight, at least amateur, just to do it, type of thing. So, he might be a good fit to do it. So we'll see.
You're an actor though too. You've been on Navy SEALs. You've been on King of Queens. What all have you been on?
Well, a couple other, 2 or 3 different B movies, and yeah, King of Queens, and I think NCIS, maybe LA, one episode, and then SEAL team. Not very many things, but I wouldn't call myself an actor at all. I was just.
Do you stay in touch with Kevin James?
I have not talked to him in a long time. So
why wouldn't you stay in touch with a guy like that? How does that, you're pretty private. I get that, but you had an opportunity. Did you exchange numbers with Kev? I mean, this guy was at the top of his game, big sitcom, a big actor, friends with Adam Sandler, doing a bunch of that shit. Like, what, did you exchange numbers with him?
I don't think I ever had his number. But one of my friends and, halfway training partner or coach in my gym, used to do his diet and chiropractic work, and was kind of his personal trainer for a while. So, but I would always go through him to anything I needed with Kevin, but no, I wasn't that close with him. Wasn't like we hung out that often. I did. And I have a pig roast every year that you've been to, but a couple of the writers from King of Queens were here this year. We were talking about the good old days. You gotta
get Kevin there. He's a funny dude. He was in an MMA movie. Don't tell me the name of it.
Here comes
the wait. Don't tell me the name. The Boom. Here comes the Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you? My boss was in that too.
Yeah, he was in. How cool of a guy is he, Baj Rutten?
He's great. No, he's. Yeah, he can be pretty funny. He can, he's back in the day. He was a little bit crazy, doing some funny shit.
Did you train with him?
He came down to my gym. He had a comeback fight or a fight. I think he had not fought for a while and then had a fight, I think, scheduled for, might have been in Strikeforce or might have been Elite XC, which was a little bit before that, against a guy that I think he went out there and just kicked the shit out of his leg a bunch of times and finished the guy. But he had hurt his ribs or something. He came down to my gym and then hurt himself, and then kind of he had a Boss Rutten training type series thing that on audio version to tell you what punches to throw, and you'd hit a bag as your workout for a while. So he was doing that workout like for a few days before his fight.
Yeah, there was a fight show. It was called like Inside MMA. Him and Kenny. Were you a guest on that? I assume you were.
Yeah.
I love that show. They need to run that back.
Yeah, no, that was good.
I remember when Uriah Faber went on there after his fight with Jose Aldo, and they showed the back of his leg. Do you remember that fight when Aldo? You just explained how Boz went and kicked that a bunch of. I mean, Aldo went. Remember when he went to town on Uriah's leg?
Vaguely, yeah.
It was the color of your sweatshirt. It was that black, like it bruised that bad, like dead skin.
I've seen nasty legs before after some fights.
Like your ears almost. The cauliflower ears. Do you love them? Do you wish there was a surgery that you could go? There probably is. I mean, would you consider plastic surgery to get them fixed, or do you love them? I wish I had them.
Yeah, no, I like them.
Nobody F's with you if you got those.
They're good to hang things on. They're good steering wheels for my wife.
How did you pick the pictures? Because one photo, and I know you got thousands, but one that I thought, and maybe you don't. Were you good at keeping photos?
Now, some of these, my parents had moved up to Oregon, but they lived down here for a while, and I have this storage bin, and I found this box of old pictures, and I tried to look through a lot of them. A lot of them were just of me wrestling, and all those type of pictures. I mean, a huge box of them, and those are just some of the ones that I found in there. And then my niece went through pictures up in Oregon where my parents are now, looking through stuff and sent me a couple. So, we kind of try to get some cool pictures out of there.
You posted a picture not long ago of the King of Queens set. How does that one not make the book? Because who was it? You, Couture, Rampage?
And Frank Trigg.
Trigg. How does that one not make the book? Was it a finalist?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It kind of kept, I don't know. I guess maybe it could have made the book. I didn't even think about that one. I think that one we just had more digitally and didn't even think about it, maybe.
It's a great picture. Great picture. Besides Randy Couture, the Natural, who do you stay in touch with that we know, household names that we know?
Chael occasionally.
Is Chael one of the best shit talkers of all time in the fight game?
I don't know. He had a shit talking coach, I guess is a good way to put it. Somebody that helped him with his material. But he would definitely come up with quite a bit.
What do you mean? Like a comic writer or like a coach that he wrestled for or something that was a big shit talker?
No, just the guy that was helping him write shit.
Oh, you let it out of the bag right here on This Life Ain't For Everybody. Chael, I want to talk with Chael. He won't talk with me. Pisses me off because I could rap with him good. What is he doing these days? I don't see him anywhere.
Podcast. He's been doing. Now he's doing the post-fight, I think, UFC stuff again.
Is he?
Yeah.
On ESPN?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I missed him on there. I like him as a commentator.
Yeah, no, he's been doing that now.
He's pretty sharp, huh? He's a pretty smart cat.
No, he is. He always has been. He's super nice, down-to-earth guy that, had a public persona that he wanted to be the bad guy. So,
Bad Guy Inc.
Yeah.
Well, put in a good word for me again. I want to talk with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him up here pretty soon. I think he was asking about going on his podcast as well. So
yeah, you need to go on there for this book. This book's got to become a New York Times bestseller. Hendo, the American athlete. Great picture on the front. American flag. You stay in touch with Chael. What about Liddell? Is he doing all right?
I think he could probably be doing. I feel like physically he doesn't look in the best shape. He could look healthier, I guess is a good way to put it. He just looks like he needs to kind of exercise a little bit. So, I think going through, he recently went through a divorce, and that's kind of tough to deal with. So, hopefully now that he's got everything kind of handled on that front, he can start kind of, getting healthy again.
I like Chuck Liddell. He was one of the guys, him and you and Matt Hughes are the ones that got me into the UFC back in the probably like 2005 period. You were Pride and Strikeforce, and it was Liddell had that, he had that stance, after the win stance he did in the blue shorts, and of course the haircut, but he was captivating in my opinion. I liked watching GSP. I cheered for Matt because of the story, the wrestler. I ended up having my, thoughts about him after I got to know him a little bit, but hell of a fighter to go 9 times defending the title. But that was just a cool era of the UFC. It was almost like it was more, it wasn't as big as it is now. It's not as busy it is now. And it was more like you could like have heroes in it. You weren't like scraping to try to find out every fighter. Now it's like betting on horses, dude, or betting on freaking football games. It's like just nonstop with the way that they promote the fights now.
Yeah, it's really tough to build up, some of these guys that fans could get behind when they're seeing too many different guys.
Yeah. So you talk with Couture, Chael, Chuck a little bit. Tito?
Occasionally, if we're at the same event, I'll talk with them, but it's not somebody I call up and say, hey, how's it going?
You're going into the biggest bar fight of your life, and there's like some badass dudes in this bar, and you get to bring 3 guys with you, and it's going to be against 4 other badasses. And I'm talking like everything goes. You can't crash a bottle. It's like, street fighting, but it's MMA rules. You can't just kick them in the nuts and gouge their eyes out. Who do you bring with you?
Well, I mean, I think obviously Randy would be a good one. I don't know.
Chael?
Chael would probably be a pretty good one. I mean, he would take anybody down 100%.
Do you base it on size? Do you want to get some heavier guys in there? Would Arlovsky make the cut because he's bigger and he's got heavy hands, or does Chad Mendez make it because he can be quick on his feet and then land a punch that could knock anybody out?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would take Chad Mendez, Randy, and myself, and Chael any day.
That's a pretty good team.
Yeah, but I think I would probably take Nagano over Chael.
Nagano hits hard, huh?
Yeah, and he's a big boy.
Who did he knock out when that vicious uppercut that one time? Remember that? Big heavyweight that fought a lot. He came over from the Strikeforce too.
Overeem?
Yeah, Overeem. Yep, that was who it was. Yeah. Did you ever fight him?
No, I almost did. Before Pride, it was called Rings. Yeah, he was fighting at 205 when I met him.
Was Vanderlei Silva an absolute tear and a badass, or was a little bit of that kind of built into this image and mystique? Or was he, because you fought him and he fought Liddell in the UFC when he came over there, Chuck beat him. Was he a really good fighter, or what did he have going for him? Was it power? What did he have?
Definitely had power and aggression and no fear type of thing, which is a good combination. And he was pretty athletic and could stop some takedowns. I think he obviously was back then was doing quite a bit of juicing quite a bit. He was obviously kind of inflated when I first met him. When I first fought him, he was huge. He shrank a little bit the second fight, but yeah, I think but very talented dude, man, tough guy.
What about out of the ring? Was he somebody that you could go up and that you would want to hang out with?
I'd have a beer with him occasionally here and there, but yeah, I have no problem with him. He'd be a good dude, but he, at that time didn't speak English very well, and I haven't really hung out with him much in the last 10 years. So
I'm trying to think of. I guess Wanderlei was another guy that had that mystique. He was called the Axe Murderer, and you fought him. You fought everybody, and that was the who's who in the fight game. If you went to Japan right now, would you be recognized?
I mean, tough question. I think so. But yeah, I know that I just, I think they want me to come back and kind of come to some of their shows out there, Ryzen.
That's the name of the league. That's the name of the
yeah. It used to be, the people that owned Pride or ran Pride, and then Dream was, but this is their. It's RIZIN, right? I think it's Ryzen.
And is that competitor over there with one?
I guess, but one FC is more based out of Singapore and in that part of the world.
Oh, it is.
And Ryzen is in Japan.
And the Pride was bought by UFC too, right?
Yeah, and then they shut it down.
All right, so where does this go from here? Like, you're on a Monday night tonight, will you grab a cocktail, a bottle of wine, or a beer and watch the World Series? Will you watch Monday Night Football? Will you be in your pool? Will you get in your hot tub? What's Monday night have on the docket for Hendo?
I haven't been hot tubbing too much this fall. But no, I'm probably going to sit on the couch with a glass of wine. I'm going to go get some dinner ready for the wife when she gets home and have some wine for her. And then we'll watch, probably a little football and a little baseball. I don't know how much of each we'll watch, depending on the game, I guess, how exciting they are. But we typically will watch Monday Night Football, though, on a Monday night.
When you say get dinner ready for Rachel, does that mean you're going to order in with Hubgrub? I don't even know what they're called. Dine and Dash. I don't even know what they're called. Or do you cook dinner?
No, I cook most of the time.
What are you going to cook tonight? Or you got to see what's in the fridge?
I got to see what she wants. But we do have some tri-tip leftovers, and I cooked some wings also yesterday. So maybe it'll be leftovers.
Ooh, I like leftovers. All right. Amazon, the best place to get this?
Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, but I don't know which one's better, but they both work. And then I think there is a place out there. I forgot the name of it now, but they're doing signed copies. So.
Okay, so I was going to ask, I don't know if that's an exclusive deal, but can I announce it right here on this podcast, on This Life Ain't For Everybody, brought to you by the one and only Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Every drop made in Lynchburg. Jack Daniels. Enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. Can we give away a signed copy on social media by following Hendo and the Foul Life, or This Life Ain't For Everybody? And one lucky winner gets a signed copy of Hendo, the American Athlete. Is that allowed? We're good enough friends for you to say yes, but do you have an exclusive deal with somebody already?
No, I can do that for one of your fans.
And does Dana White own some of your intellectual property with the name Hendo, like Vince McMahon, John Cena, and The Rock, and Hulk Hogan, and all these guys had to battle for their names when they left the WWE to use those names in movies and stuff? Or do you own all of the IP property, intellectual property of Hendo?
Yeah, I own Hendo. They don't, but they do own footage, and I give them the rights every year to do the video game.
So
have to sign that.
The UFC never tries to take money from somebody like you that is building a revenue stream on a name that they help build by buying Pride, by buying Strikeforce, and by where they could say they helped put Hendo on the map as much as he put himself on the map. Could they ever say that?
I'm sure they could try to say that, but it wasn't. They just had the platform, and it didn't matter if I sucked. I wouldn't have. Nobody'd know me.
When was the first time somebody called you Hendo?
When I was younger. So I mean, it's here and there, growing up, and I got called a lot of nicknames over the years, and then I finally got tired of all the different nicknames, and I just put Hendo out there a little bit, to where I just tell people to call me that instead of everything else they would call.
Do you have a pile of these books? What's that, Hendo? Sorry.
The American Athlete actually was when I was fighting in Pride, the media, and they had a couple different nicknames for me. A lot of times they would just call me Dan, the media would, and everybody would know me too. But some of the media started calling me the American Athlete, or Dan the American Athlete. So I was trying to figure out a good name for the book, and
I love it. You are the American Athlete. I mean, Toby Keith and Bobby Pinson wrote a song about you called Made in America.
True story.
Toby Keith says it on the back of your book. A transparent look inside the heart of a champion, truly made in America. Hendo, thank you. Hendo, The American Athlete by Dan Henderson and David Kano is available now. Barnes & Noble, Amazon. This is an awesome book. A great read, a great legacy as a fighter, a true legend, a savage as described by Joe Rogan. That's a pretty cool word to be called, dude. I've seen you with a shotgun, though, so I don't know if you're a savage with a shotgun just quite yet. All right, so I'll plan on hearing back from you on the Vegas deal. I plan on seeing you in early January for our hunt in California. That's going to be a blast. I threw down a text to Couture and invite him. He will not text me back, and I'm saying that on here. And maybe he's busy, but he usually texts me right back from Vegas. Maybe he's on vacation. But if you talk to Couture, tell him there's a spot for him if he wants to join us on that.
All right, sounds good.
That'll be a short flight.
You want me to invite anybody else?
Who else should we bring out there? I mean, Gary's always more than welcome, but you probably get a hold of Gary faster than me.
He hasn't returned my calls in the last 2 months.
Yeah, he's
always
always
out of
busy.
The blue, and then and then text me a couple of times, but then.
That's exactly how he is with me. Out of the blue, he'll call me and he'll be like, "Chad boy, what's up?" We'll talk literally for an hour. And then I'll hit him up a week later on a text, and it'll be radio silence for 3 months.
Yeah.
No, but it's deer season now, so he's hiding up there in that cabin waiting to whack a deer.
Yeah, I don't know, Michael Ray, maybe. I think my buddies that are organizing this thing down in Cabo invited him down there, so he might be going down there too.
Yeah, I saw him a couple weeks ago in Nashville at Tim Montana's shoot. I got to hang with Michael. He sang a couple songs at the City Winery the night before.
Here shortly after that to do a.
Yeah, he told me he was flying out.
It was the Riverside County Sheriff Department family barbecue.
All right, hold on one sec while I sign off. Thank you all for listening to This Life Ain't For Everybody. Jack Daniels, enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. We'll be back with another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. More awesome guests coming up. I'm going to get Couture back on here. I got Money Mendez coming on here. We're working on Tito Ortiz. I like the fight game. I like to talk fighters. I like to talk about their career. Hendo's had one of the best. Get his new book, Hendo, The American Athlete, available right now, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and we're going to be giving away one copy signed to one lucky winner coming up on our social media pages, so be on the lookout for that. I'm Chad Belding for Dan Hendo Henderson. Thank you for listening to the conversation in another episode of Jack Daniels Presents This Life Ain't For Everybody. Y'all take care.